Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendon Traxler.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Colonize the Ocean podcast. I am one of your most handsome co-hosts, Adam Jewell, and with me like always is the Brendon Traxler. Brendon, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Adam?
You have to remember now, I'm going to tell people this, but we can see you. The people that are watching the video version, which is now new, they can see you, so they can see all the faces that you make at me while I'm talking. So, I mean, there is no editing that out now.
Very well. I will be on my best behavior then.
I'd appreciate it. So, yeah, that's something new with this episode. Obviously, for the people listening to the audio version, the podcast version, not going to see much of a difference, literally. But we do have an updated video version, which we'll be putting out on YouTube, and I'm assuming LBRY, where, we just have it to where you guys can see us talk, in case that's something that you guys are into. So that's what we're doing now, right, Brendon?
That's right.
So, episode 14, we're in it. We have to have a couple apologies ahead of time because meanings we're recording a little bit different. I'm in my kitchen right now, which is a little bit of a mess behind me. My kids and wife are out, so that's the perfect time to record. But the dogs are in the house, so if they bark for no reason, which they do a lot, I do apologize. And then, Brendon, you were saying how there's like some massive storms going on where you're at right now to where you could lose power potentially.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, so we're going to try to do this all in one shot, hopefully be able to get everything. So, Brendon, today I was going to talk about a video that we posted earlier this week on our Atlanta Sea Colony Facebook page, something that we kind of talked about in the past. And you've done a lot of research into this, but I do encourage people to go to our Facebook page and watch the video, go to YouTube and see it. But it is about, what happens kind of underwater. It's specifically aimed towards the marine biology, but this affects us as far as underwater colonization and placing habitats underwater, where the main gist of it is, so when there's hurricanes going on, the top level of water is usually what's going to get the most, I guess, chaos to it is, I guess, a way to put it. But the deeper you go, the less effects that that weather has on, I guess, the ecosystem or whatever you want to call it at that level. So they talk about a lot that, a lot of fish will actually dive deeper when the weather starts happening just to be in safer, be at safer depths. And that kind of talks about what you and I have talked about in the past. And like I said, you've done the research to a lot of this that, because we get that question a lot as like, so what's going to happen if you guys place this habitat underwater and there is a hurricane? I mean, the past few years we've seen some pretty decent ones that happened, especially like on the East Coast and down there by Florida. So, Brendon, go tell me a little bit, or remind me a little bit about how some of this works, because this has actually affected Aquarius in the past.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. A couple of years ago, I think it was only a couple of years ago. I don't know. I lose track of time. But we had a huge hurricane, one of the big ones we're talking about, came through, and it did some damage to Aquarius where it needed to be repaired. Obviously, nothing catastrophic or anything like that, but it's still sitting at 60 feet underwater, and there was damage to it from a huge hurricane then. So even as you're talking at the top level, in the article you're talking about too, it talks about the ripple effect, that it's almost like seismic waves that go down from hurricanes as well, because it's sucking up water and it's causing tons of devastation. So it can be pretty profound and pretty deep where you're still feeling the effects of it. So, I mean, a lot of factors come into play. The depth, the strength of the hurricane, stuff along those lines as far as safe areas, I guess you could say. But the rule of thumb is, the deeper you go, the safer you're going to be, type of thing too. So, for most habitats out there right now, and for the foreseeable future, you would still evacuate in a situation along those lines, just because be safe than sorry type of thing. But that's not saying that as we continue to, advance that technology and get deeper, that it will be a moot point before too long. But you're correct as far as the fish and the other life in the ocean, being aware of it and being able to get out of the way for the most part.
Yeah, they have their own instincts, just like a lot of animals and wildlife do when it comes to just what nature can do. And when you think about it, this is stuff that people have already thought about, because when you look at offshore oil derricks and stuff, they've had to figure this stuff out in the past too, because I've seen videos of nasty storms that are going through these offshore oil derricks. I have a relative that actually worked on an offshore oil derrick, and he says it gets pretty crazy. But I mean, the engineering and the structure, I guess the designs are out there to be able to withstand that. So that's one of those things where we can kind of utilize the information that's already out there and kind of translate it to what we would do in a situation with, an underwater habitat, and being able to withstand, rough currents and hurricanes and whatever you might be dealing with.
Right. And that's why some people, look towards cruise ships and stuff like that. They can obviously go out of the way, floating cities or floating whatever. They can be moved out of the way, or they're designed similar to oil derricks where they can take the brunt of it. That's why there's been some proposals as well for some of the underwater habitats to be movable, so they can, once again, be moved out of the way for situations and stuff along those lines as well. But so yeah, there's different ideas on how to address it. For right now, everybody just evacuates for the most part, like for Aquarius or for any other ones, and just does what they need to do.
Yeah, that's a good thing about with technology where it's at now, where we can predict and foresee and be able to plan for when we're going to get weather, like especially like with hurricanes. Yeah, there's certain weather patterns that are kind of spontaneous, but with hurricanes we've been able to kind of track those for a long time. So yeah, I'd say that regardless of how the development goes in the beginning, we'd be able to at least have that, being able to predict when something's about to happen, so we can at least have a decent heads up of being able to evacuate the habitats and get to a safe area.
Yeah, totally.
So what do you got for us this week there, Mr. Traxler?
Ooh, that was nice and short. We're going to keep this, we're going to keep it nice today. Because it's like pouring down rain outside of the stage. But anyway, I don't know if you can hear that through the microphone or not. But
No.
Okay. So this is something we've addressed in the past as well. And we've had several questions, especially as our Facebook page has been growing. We get questions all the time from different people. And this one hit last week, and we actually posted something on the back. But what happens when you poop?
Poop.
Yep. Mom's going to the bathroom. And, there's, once again, just like hurricanes, there's tons of different, answers to this question. Aquarius, I was watching a video from an astronaut who had stayed there before, and what their solution is, they go outside, they swim to a little covered area, and they go do their business out there, and they swim back in. And that's fine for a science community, but for your day to day, I'm not going to do that if I'm spending some money to sleep there and spending my honeymoon or whatever underwater. That's not ideal. So
it's got to be a lot of work too.
Doesn't sound enjoyable from that guy's. You know what? I'll try to find that video and I'll put it in the show notes and stuff like that, because it's a pretty interesting interview anyway about it. He put some. It's interesting, but so what do you do? I mean, so you can pump it out into the ocean around there. That's obviously even a smaller habitat that's feasible. But as you start getting bigger, there becomes, and as the video talked about for cruise ships, there's laws actually in place for preventing you from pumping it out. So you have to, either hold it all like you do with your RV and stuff along those lines, so you get to a place where you can dump it, or you have to clean it yourself like you would here on land. And so there's, once again, and even in that, there's several different ways of cleaning it. And one thing I'm hoping we're going to be able to have on is somebody to talk about this, because it is a big deal. It's actually one of the biggest questions that I have rethought about multiple times throughout the years I've been, looking at this is what do I do with this one feature? How do I take care? Because the other thing is, when you're under pressure, you can't just pump it out to the ocean or somewhere like that, because you've got the water pressure going to shoot back in there and can, like a submarine. So submarine, I believe, a lot of submarines will pump it out into the ocean, but they have a special design system where it's got cutoff valves and all this, because as soon as you open that valve to go to the outside, all that pressure is going to shoot back inside, and you're done at that point in time.
Yeah.
So it becomes a very tricky, technologically, absurd amount of technology has to go into it just for this simple feature.
Yeah, and I think we had a other video or an article up too about how a lot of cruise ships, they actually have basically their own water treatment facility on their ships, and I think a lot of different naval structures do that. Where they have the same, maybe like a smaller system like they do like at your local water treatment plant, but they do the same thing on their ships. That way they still pump the water out once they get ashore, obviously, but they have a way of treating the stuff right on the ship itself, which is kind of cool. But kind of looking at that, that'd be a really hard feature for us to kind of replicate, where you have unless you had a very large underwater habitat,
right?
But a single home or a single family structure, you're probably not going to install a water treatment process into it. Unless you like replicate it, like you said, with like kind of like what they do with RVs and boats and yachts and stuff like that.
And even then, even with the smaller ones, you can still have a system where it goes into a holding tank with microbes and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where people who live off of the city sewage right now have similar systems like that set up for that. So it would be something similar to that, where it pumps it into a holding tank that takes care of the whole thing. That's for the black water. Obviously gray water, which is your dirty dishwater or laundry or whatever like that you could easily dispose of. So once again, there is no right answer at this point in time, because once again, here we are at the beginning of designing these things and building these, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be something else where the technology catches up to it. Obviously some people say, well, just use a dry composting toilet, and you could do that too. But my whole principle on that whole thing is it's not very technologically fancy, for one thing. And if I'm staying somewhere nice, I'm going to want to not have to worry about stuff like that.
Right.
It's one more hoop you have to jump through just to go to the bathroom. And I don't like that idea personally, but
yeah. And, like you said, the options are out there. It's a matter of how you can, replicate it and make it efficient for both your structure and, the size of what you plan on doing. And, the whole pumping it directly back out into the water, like, that's probably not it is an option, but like long term, it's probably not the one you'd want to go with, because when you think about it, like, when we talk about our structure, we want to have, really big windows to where you can see the life. You'd hate to, to have that view corrupted by, wastewater or anything like that. Plus, like, it's not something that you want to advertise either. Like, you don't want to be able to tell people like, oh yeah, like the waste we just put it in the water. That's not something that, our goal is to try to make everything as, environmentally friendly and whatever is possible. So granted, I don't think that stuff harms anything on a very small scale like that, but it's one of those things that aesthetically, and when you just tell people about it, it just sounds like something that you don't want to chase after.
Yeah, and as you're saying, as I was thinking right there, I remember, I was looking at vendors a while back, and there are, especially with the marine environment boat makers, this is along those lines. They've got these turnkey operations where you can put these disposal systems in there that take care of a lot of this for you already. So like I said, it is. There's multiple different avenues to go with to avoid having to sacrifice the comforts of life with, composting toilets or whatever, or swimming outside and going to the bathroom, where you can have all the amenities you are used to in your house, not have to worry about it, and at the same time keeping the environment clean too.
Yeah, and like you said in the beginning, it's a huge, obstacle that we have to be able to climb over, because obviously it's a part of human nature that it's something that we have to be able to do. That, and like just being able to access clean water and all that. So I mean, it's one of the big things. Out of curiosity, do you know what Jules does? How do their system works?
I don't. That's a good question.
We'll have to look into that.
With them being as close to land and stuff like that,
they might actually pump it to land.
They may. And, we've got some contacts there that we've talked to through Facebook, so I can always shoot them a message to and find out. But yeah, I'm not sure on that.
We'll come back with that answer in another episode. We'll find out what they do.
Because, or maybe we'll get somebody from Jules on and we can ask him that question.
I like that idea a little bit better. So, yeah. Other than that, Brendon, what else do we got for this week, or is that pretty much it?
I mean, I think we're gonna cut her off there.
Yeah. So, like I said, we got this video format that we're trying out now. So those of you that are watching on YouTube or LBRY, take a nice good look at us, and just hopefully we're aesthetically pleasing to you. We're constantly experimenting with different ways we could record and make things a little bit more fun for the listeners and the viewers. So having said that, you guys can check us out on AtlanticSeaColony.com, ColonizeTheOcean.com, and then basically every social media. If you just look at Atlantic Sea Colony, we're there. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, like we said, YouTube, LBRY, TikTok. I believe we're still on that. I don't know if we posted anything there for a while, but LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn. So check us out. Contact us like we posted earlier this week. If you want to, if you know of anybody that would be a good guest, or if you yourself have some expertise in some of these oceanic and naval technologies, whatever you want to call it, get a hold of us. We'd love to be able to talk to you. And other than that, Brendon, I got nothing else.
Cool beans. I think we're good for the week. Thank you guys for once again tuning in for another episode of Colonize the Ocean podcast.
Bye.